together a Google spreadsheet. Another thing I'm asking you to do is to subscribe to the discussion board, Blackboard, discussion board, class Q&A, and hit subscribe. That way you can post comments, questions, and everyone's going to get it. Okay? Where do we find that? Okay, and that's the end of my weekly to-dos. Let's take a look at that. Oops. I'm going to come down. Here's the discussion board. Okay? And we have right here the class Q&A. So you click on that, okay, and you hit subscribe. Okay? And now you're subscribed. That's as simple as it is. So that's one of the things I asked you to do for week 1. Okay, let's go back to the outline. And I'm going to zoom down to kind of show you this table again. So you notice that the colors changed. That's just to help indicate a week change. Okay? Colors don't really mean anything beyond that. Okay, so here's week 3, it's blue. Week 4 is green. Week 5 is purple. Week 6 is, I don't even know what that color is, misty green. 7 is a pink. 8 is a white. 9 is gray. And then this is, we will start assigning it in the middle. It has to do with Android and Connect. Okay, there's no week 10 because that's really like a floating week for that last material, right? So things will move depending on that. I will say if you've had like a graduate class for me called Software Engineering, I think this is an easier class in the sense that there's less very different topics that we cover. We're all concentrated on vision, right? There's different aspects of vision from the early stages, right? We're talking about human vision. We're talking about sensors. Then we'll talk about mid-level vision, which is like feature recognition. Someone said they wanted to detect lines, right? Think about how you're on a highway, right? And you have the lines growing across the white lines. That's one of the ways they know when you are crossing and doing lane changing, okay? Because GPS is not accurate enough, okay? That commercial GPS is not accurate enough. So they have to use vision, right? So this is what I'm saying. That's like mid-level vision, right? Doing simple things like line extraction, that kind of stuff. Then high-level vision is where you do understanding. So we start, and our course kind of reflects that, with talking about the low level, how images are created, right? This is the topic of Module 2. We start talking about simple image operations, which is leading into middle level vision. Now, depending on what your purpose of your application is, it might be for gaming. It might be you want to clean up images. Maybe you have a heads-up display. You're a pilot. And all you want to do is they're flying through the fog, and you want to clean up and sharpen the images, right? You might only be doing low-level vision. You may never be doing mid-level or high-level vision, right? So depending on what your purpose is, you're going to do different things. So simple image operations, we're going to be talking about probability. That's really important. I think we crossed the lane with 99% probability versus I think I crossed the lane with 0 or 1 or 10 or 40 or 50. And what do you do, right? What decision do you do? What you might do for a cancer recognition system is a lot different than what you might do for some kind of a gaming situation, right? Safety. So safety is a big issue, potentially with some vision systems. So understanding how to describe your certainty is really important. And that's true with, as I mentioned to you before, like recommendation systems, right? It's statistical in nature. So statistics is an important topic in any kind of understanding of systems. Understanding systems. Okay, color. We'll talk about color. We'll talk about geometric relationships. So we're kind of getting a little bit further into our mid-level processing. We'll talk about image noise. We'll talk about binary image processing, features and texture. And now we're starting to get into the latter parts, okay, what's called high-level vision. And that is things like trying to find pieces of stuff and doing recognition. Segmentation, fitting, recognition. We'll talk about data structures. We'll talk about motion. Okay? So motion is something that sometimes we want to detect, right? There's a vehicle coming near me. How fast is it coming near me, right? Motion detection. Some other topics that kind of don't fit any particular place, they involve all levels of vision, are things like motion, 3D imaging, right? 2D versus 3D. Image databases is kind of an application, so image-based search, image-based retrieval, finding things by images. And some other topics dealing with like remote sensing, robot vision, navigation, surveillance, compression. These kind of, 9 is kind of a hodgepodge of material as you can see. And then we have our Android specific and our Connect specific information. And I'm going to update some of the stuff in Android. I haven't had a chance to do yet. And I'm also going to put a link for Android to a mobile class that I teach that has a lot of information about Android, more than I would have put on the computer vision page. Okay? But the Connect will be all self-contained here. There isn't another class that I teach connecting. Okay, any questions about the outline before we talk about projects and exercises? No? You all good with the idea? Okay, and the weekly to-dos and how it correlates to the outline? Okay, so we have not many exercises in this class. We have a few. And one of our first ones is week 1, which I reminded you of in the week 1 to do, which is to please install Eclipse for Java, okay? Now notice it says it's not turned in. Some exercises I'm not going to ask you to turn in, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do it. The ones that aren't turned in, I don't put a due date and time on them. But by implication in week 1, and by implication that it's in your week 1 to-dos, you need to finish it by week 1. Okay? If you have problems with finishing it, that's when you either A, post to the questions, Q&A, right? Ask, and we're going to pair you up with someone today as kind of just a get to know someone based on maybe your inclination in the last project we're going to talk about shortly. Someone that you can get assistance from, and then seeing me during office hours or email. So depending on the other option that we have is possibly meeting virtually. I do this more with my online classes, and what that means is, and I'm going to ask someone to please log into Blackboard. Reza, would you mind to help me out?
Yes.
And then and the rest of you are welcome to do it too, but we're going to go to Course Tools, and there's a tool here called Collaborate that I'm going to launch hopefully. And under Collaborate, I'm going to go ahead and create a session for Reza and I to create. And I just need to, I'm going to have to take this down because I can't quite see it very well. I'm going to make this a long-running session. Okay. So when you come in, you're going to see this always here for the rest of the class, and he's going to join me. And the first time you do this, it will download some software. It'll take a little while. If Blackboard updates that module, Blackboard Collaborate, you may have to reinstall it. Every time you join the room, it'll install a little Java file for you. This is actually a Java program to run. Okay, so we have to wait for it to come up. Make sure there it is. Okay. So this is an online tool that does audio video conferencing. I should have actually done it from my laptop because this particular machine has no camera. So we won't be able to see each other, but that's useful. So having a microphone and a speaker, you can buy cheap headphones that you plug into your laptop or your computer, really critical, right? Because otherwise this is like chat, and that's painful, right? To get help. I don't like that. But if I had a microphone, I could click talk, I could click video. Right now it says no video sources found, but my picture would show up here. And I think Reza's going to nicely connect, he'll be added as a name to this room. And then one of the things that's really great, and I'll show you, is I can control his desktop. He can share his desktop with me. I can even type into it. Now, I work with my graduate students like this all the time. I will have to say, and so I'm probably like the most expert at it in the whole university. It's a little slow. And sometimes the video isn't great and the audio's not great, and we'll revert to phone once in a while. And then we'll talk on the phone while we work remotely. But it can be better than having an hour drive, right? Depending on the whole situation. In order for us to use this together, it means that we have to connect via email to set an agreed upon time to meet. I'm not sitting on this thing all day long, as you can imagine. I'm not sitting on it at all, except when I need to, right? When I have a predefined meeting time with someone, okay? So we're gonna let Reza, he's gonna flag me when he's done that. But the other things on here is a link to our syllabus. We also have a link here in Blackboard to course materials, course tools besides Blackboard Collaborate, and Reza's an expert because he's also a TA, so he's going to forgive me not watching this while he's setting that up. Another very useful tool is email. So you can come in here and you can email and you can see people's names, right? So if you want to say, hey, I need to email and I forgot their email address, you can just say, hey, I want to, email here, Sam, right? Like that. And then you can, of course, do attachments, all the other things that you might want to do. Okay, so the two places that you're going to be turning in items is going to be through the discussion board, okay? So if you click on the discussion board, this is where you're going to find your post views for the week. Now they're all there, so if you know you're traveling, you can do a post view earlier. But you just simply come in here, right, create a thread, and post your question and answer, okay? Some other things you'll notice down here, we're about to talk about projects, is here's like, for example, Project 1 proposals. I tend to put things here that I want other people to see, right? Like the ability to see in class. You can see what other people are doing, right? And sometimes it'll be required to do that. Here's Project 3. Project 2 is not really here except for a sharing discussion board. You'll also have a link here called Projects. And you'll notice Project 2, Phase 1, I have this turned off because I don't want you to even think about Phase 2 before you'll be turning in Phase 1. Okay. But, so mine looks a little different, but these are the only two things. Project 2 will be the only thing we'll turn in this way, which is hidden from others. Our assessment link, I'm going to ask you, and I'll send out an email. There's an intro survey. I just like to have people do it. It doesn't count towards any grades or anything. It just I just get to know you better individually. In online classes, I like to sometimes do that. Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about projects. Are you on?
I am on, but I don't see you.
Huh. Okay, well, let's not worry about it. When you get to the point, hopefully, this is self-explanatory. That is odd. I don't know. Are you in the?
I'm in the computer vision.
Right. Yeah. So am I. Okay. We can look at that later. I think there's something wrong with Blackboard. Not usually. Oh, here, someone joined the session. There we go. So we can see her. Who's that? Sai? Who's Sai? Are you on a laptop? Are you doing it from a laptop? Can you show us your camera? Can you click the video? Yay! There she is. And if she has a microphone?
Yes.
Go ahead. Click it and talk.
Hi.
Okay, well, we're in the same room. That proves she's doing it. Feedback. That's called feedback. If you're an engineer, you know what that is. Okay. Or maybe computer scientist. Okay, very good. So that's the idea. And let's do desktop sharing. Hey, can we do that together? That's the thing I thought would be cool. So I'm going to share my desktop with her, which is not too exciting. But I would go to Share Tools, Applications, Start Sharing. It says, oh, messages about privileges. You can share the entire desktop, or you can just share a particular application. What it'll do for the person sharing is, do you see that yellow rubber band? That's what it'll look like. Okay? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my desktop, and I'm going to ask her to share her desktop with me. So you go to Tools, Application, Sharing, Share. Are you finding it? Oh, there we go. It's a little slow. Okay. So are you sharing the entire desktop?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other applications up? You probably do. So I'm going to request cursor control. I know I can't make this bigger for the video, but this says request cursor control. That means I want to control her desktop. So I'm going to say this. She's going to get a message. That's her desktop. It says this. She has to say yes, please. Okay? So now at this point, I can come in here and I can control her desktop, which is really hard to see, isn't it? Can you bring up another, do me a favor, can you bring up Word as something prominent? Because for some reason, did you share the entire desktop or just this application?
No, but the entire
Let me see, because it looks like it's only that application.
Alright, yeah.
Let's stop sharing applications. Okay, so now she's going to have the entire, now she was just sharing that application, okay? That's why I couldn't get out of it. So now I can, she has, for example, something up here, it's a browser. Now I'm going to go ahead and request control, because we had to stop and restart. So stop being busy, there we go, okay, great. She's going to say yes, and now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to bring up a tab, and I'm going to maybe change this, and I'm going to go to, I don't know, abc.com, whatever. My point is like she could have a compiler up. You can see how slow it is. It's a little aggravating. So there'll be times when I'll say, hey, this just isn't working, you're going to have to come in. That's the limitation, right? And like I said, I'm pretty good at pretending I'm in 1970 or 1980 modems or something. But there's a limit where it's just like, this is crazy. Or you can't understand when I'm talking to you. Some of the other things that you can do is you can surf the web together. You can have a whiteboard for doing drawing and stuff like that. I find those kind of limited use because I think the tools are a little clunky to use. All right, so let's, you can say thank you and kill, and then you can exit out of that collaborate. I'm going to do the same. And we're going to go over back to talk about the projects, and that'll be the last thing we do. Okay, there are 3 projects, projects 1, 2, and 3. What are they? Project 1 is just about learning and demonstrating that learning through creation of a research tutorial. So you're going to make a tutorial on a topic that's research oriented. I want that topic to be related to your project 3. So I'm actually going to talk about project 3 before I talk about project 1, because I want that to help you make a proposal on something new that you're going to do. Okay? And so that's great, you're ahead of the game. If we make it something totally different, then you're going to have to redo that work and to create a good proposal for project 3. So we don't want to do that. Project 2 is a simple programming project. So it's to make some of the very simple features of like a Photoshop project. So you're going to learn how to load in an image. You're going to learn how to do certain kinds of manipulations on that. We're not going to do drawing and all that because that's not really, we're not interested in graphics per se in this class. That's more graphics. But we'll be doing image manipulation. So to help you with that, I have an initial exercise. Okay? And if we scroll down, it hasn't been assigned yet because it's in exercise. It's in week 2. Next week I'll assign it. This is due. Okay, April 14th, midnight. This will help you with this project 2. Okay, your project 2 programming. In fact, it says that. This will help you with project 2. So I've given you some code. In this directory. I've given you something called imageapplication.java. Okay? I've given you, that's the main application, something called image data. This is a class to represent the actual image data. The image frame, quit dialog, and the about dialog are just dialogues, and the image frame is for displaying the image. You will not have to change those 3 pieces of code. But it's good to read through it. Okay, I've commented it to see what it does. But I've also talked about it right here. What is image application? This is the main class that will launch from the application. It'll launch a file dialog. That was that other class we saw, which basically asks the user to load which file do you want to load, right? Which image. You're going to open an image. Okay? I tell you how I want you to change this a little bit. Okay? And then I say that you have to add this kind of code here. Okay, that there's some code that's uncommented. It's commented that you have to uncomment. And then you have to create an instance of your image data class. And finally, you're going to add 2 methods in the image data class called brighten and save. Here's image data. These are the ones that you're going to create and what they should do. Now you notice these don't have anything you have to change, but they're there, and they say what the purpose of them are. Okay. This again repeats image data and what you need to do. You needed to create a brighten method. What that's going to do is it's going to take the image and make it lighter, brighter. So it's going to visit every pixel in the image and brighten it. And you're going to by then know what pixels are. You're by then going to understand what brightening is. Okay? Because you've gone through week 2 material. But I've given you a little pseudo algorithm of what it means to brighten, which is just to increase the value of the pixel by some value. Everyone gets 10 values lighter. Everyone gets 30 values lighter, depending on what you pass it. Okay, that's going to help you finish your project 2. Project 2 has more than the brighten function. Let's see what it has. It has thresholding, making negatives, doing edge detection, and doing contrast tracing. These are actually small pieces of code that you could actually write maybe in anywhere from 2 to maybe 10 lines of code. Okay? They're not complex algorithms. So this is actually not a hard project, but it's a project where you're coding. Right? So, and it's a good place to start. Image processing.
And it's all in Java.
Yes, and I've given you this Java code to start with, okay? And that's also linked here, same thing. So it talks about each one. Again, these are the files, okay? But the exercise will start you slowly. You won't be doing everything. And then there's 2 phases to it. Again, phase 1 is to get some of it done. It's only worth 20 points because I don't really grade it. It's kind of just a way to make sure you're on time. But it is worth points, roughly 10% of the project. And then phase 2 is where you actually turn everything in and then it's graded traditionally, right? Okay? So this is just, again, between the exercise and phase 1, I'm just really like, because phase 1, by the way, is really kind of not much more than the exercise, but it's just really trying to get you there. Okay? All right, so project 3, I wanted to talk about that, and we'll only be about 10 more minutes before I talk about project 1. Project 1 we know is a research tutorial. You're going to read about a topic, and then you're going to summarize it in your own words in a web-based tutorial. That's why you got the account on Puzzle sent to you from Richard. Right? You should have gotten if you were already registered. If you're newly registered, you need to email me so I can get you an account. It's a web server account. What is this? This is interesting. This is maybe it's not done very much in many classes, but you're going to tell me what you want to do. I have a lot of guidelines, okay, to help you, but you're going to choose one of 2 options: connect, or option 2 is mobile imaging image application on Android. Okay, now, I have asked you to be a little more specific here than just anything you want to do. So let's look at mobile. By far, look, it's got a whole website just for the mobile option, right? I want to guide you. I want to make sure that you can do this, okay? So yes, there's a lot of information. I tend to do that in my classes, but it's really to help you, okay? So I'm asking you to create an application, but not just any application. This is the goals. Here's the goal. It has to be for someone who is low vision or blind. I like to do human things, right? I like to do things to help people. Hopefully not like to hurt people, right? Technology can be used in any bad way you can think of. But my hope is to help people. So I'm going to say we're going to do that. We're going to do humanistic helping apps. So we're going to focus on low vision people. It could be, for example, here, trying to find a door. Let's suppose you're a blind person, you've got a phone, and you need to get out in an emergency. You could walk around and you could say, door, 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 and you could walk towards it, right? Maybe you want to make the app that when someone goes to Starbucks and gets their coffee, they can tell the difference between the pink and the yellow packets of sugar. Right? I don't know, right? That could be helpful. Maybe you want to know the difference between the salt and pepper shaker on their kitchen table. It's your imagination, okay? Maybe you want to help someone walk across the sidewalk, following the lines. So your imagination, even though that seems a little limiting, blind or low vision, doesn't have to be completely blind. It could be assistive rather than completely, you know, there's a lot that you can do. Okay, so this talks about what the goals are. This talks about what the input is. It's Android. If you really want iOS, you can talk to me. This talks about the fact that you will need to do research. And that's where Project 1 comes in. That'll be the research. So here's the problem, chicken and egg. You might not know what exactly you want to do for mobile, if you're choosing mobile. But hopefully you can find something that attracts you, and even if it changes, the research will be helpful from Project 1. Okay, so you can take a look at this. This talks about getting started. You're going to be making a proposal for this. You're going to be describing what you're going to try to do. Okay, I want to cross the street. I'm going to assume there's white lines. I'm going to use color. I don't care about the fact. I'm going to look for long strips of white in my, and I'm going to look for left and right, and I'm going to make them walk in the middle, right? So as much as you can describe, hopefully you've read what other people have done, and you have some ideas from that, okay? That it's not completely like, woo, just my own mind. But I love to work with new students like you who aren't always bogged down by what other people have done, right? You can have your own creativity, and I encourage that. As I told you, I don't care if this system works or not, as long as it runs and you did what you said you were going to do. You tried it, right? So that's the key, and I'll emphasize that as we get closer. But remember, these are hard problems. Finding the pink versus yellow is not necessarily that easy. What if they're laying on top of each other, right? There's all these scenarios, like this guy over here wants to drive in his backyard, right, that you might not imagine. So it's only going to work in certain environments, possibly. That's fine with me. You can define that up front. Blind bike, right? We're not trying to bike at night. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, so this is the, you know, a realistic restriction, right? These are operating conditions, and so you'll be thinking about those things too. All right, so that is the essence of Project 3. Project 1 is simply a research tutorial. I make you do web. Why? I think that you should all be literate in web. You should be able to publish to the web. Dreamweaver is my tool of choice, you know, for doing this kind of web authoring. You can get trial versions, but you can even make web pages, God forbid, from Word, right? File save as HTML. It's that easy, okay? And then you have to upload it using a tool like Putty, God forbid again, or something that has a GUI interface like an SSH client or something. And when we get to that point, I'll send out some links and stuff. But do remember, email me if you haven't gotten an account from Richard, because you'll need an account on the web server. But again, the topics are up to you. Hopefully you go for something. Here's some suggestions, but connect, how to track the gait of a user, right? Maybe you're going to be watching someone at home and you want to see how fast they're moving. How to detect trips. So what are the options for Connect? We actually didn't look at that. How did I focus the Connect one? Cyber physical systems. So this is different. It's not for just low vision people. It doesn't move with you like a phone does. It doesn't quite make sense totally for, you could find an application for low vision or blind people, but I'm looking more at in-home use. And what I'm suggesting you do is look at the issues of an older person at home. Like that system that we've published, that I said I did research on. So again, we're trying to be human-oriented. One is kind of low vision blind. This is more the older person at home. So following their gait could be useful, because that's an indicator that they're having physical problems, instability, right? You choose what you want to do, okay? If there's something else that really attracts you that doesn't quite fit in one of these modules, you can talk to me about it, but I'm going to have to be convinced, kind of like you doing iOS. I have literature on iOS on another website, but I just think that for this class, given you've done some Java programming, it will be a more natural flow for you to do Android. And also, you don't need a Mac to develop. If you want to do iOS, you have to have a Mac. That's not true for Android, right? So there's more flexibility there. Okay, any questions? We're actually done. I know I kept you longer by 20 minutes. This is an important part. Questions? How do you reach me? Email, office hours on the syllabus. You can also find instructor information both in the website as well as on Blackboard. We can set up conferences that at a time that works for both of us for Blackboard Collaborate.
So is this and the final the only times we're meeting?
Correct.
So we don't have an agenda?
That time that was published was supposed to be today's time, the middle one in May. Now we're only going to do one exam. And it's only worth 20% of your grade, right, as per the syllabus. Any other good questions? So let's pair you. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll ask the gentleman to say thank you to him. Thank you. And